Hi, this is Maria Gaian from Wild Fox Alchemy, and I'm going to tell you today how I make my flower essences. They're about so much more than just sticking flowers in water and then preserving the liquid. So I thought I would share with you the process of how I make my flower essences. Now, I apologise to other people that make essences. They may do it differently than me. I forge my own path. I am a hedge witch. I'm not part of a coven. I don't follow anybody's rules. I follow my intuition, and I do everything in my life and business intuitively. So if my way of making flower essences differs from your way or somebody else's way that then that's fine. Whatever way you need to do it or want to do it, that's entirely up to you. But I thought I would share with you how I make my flower essences. First of all, what is important to me is that my essences are made from flowers and plants that I've personally cultivated from seeds, or they're from herbs and plants that are growing wild in the mountains of Spain. In particular, the Sierra de Mariola Natural Park in Valencia, which is famed for its herbs and its plant life. It's really, really important to me that I know that my plants are organically grown, that they're sustainable, that I'm not taking things from the environment that are causing destruction. It's got to be ecologically sound, everything about it. Now, the other thing is that I also am aware of the energy of the plants right from the time that they're from seeds, really. So everything I do at every stage is cleansed and blessed. I buy a packet of seeds, I cleanse and bless them because I don't know who's handled them, I don't know where they came from. So they're cleansed and blessed before they're actually sown. They're cleansed and blessed throughout the whole growing time. I stay away from them if I'm grumpy. But I know that there are no pesticides. I don't live anywhere near busy roads. The land around me isn't farmed as such, so therefore nobody's really throwing pesticides on everything. We live here on natural spring water from the mountains. It's safe. I will add that straight in. It's safe to drink, but it is about as pure as you can get. And that is really important to me. I don't want to be causing issues by, I don't know, even ordering blooms from across the world. All the air miles and the pollution and everything else. So everything I make, I might not have a full range of thousands of flower essences because everything is local to me and it's everything that I can grow or is growing wild around me. And my mountain, for example, is absolutely full of rosemary. It's full of gorse. There's so much of it that, me taking some blooms, it doesn't make any difference to anything. There are wild roses in the Sierra de Mariola. There's thyme. I think there's something like 156 varieties of herbs growing wild in that park, and they're prolific. They're everywhere. So it doesn't matter if I remove a few blooms. Nobody's going to starve, and I'm not destroying anybody's habitat. The next thing that's really, really important to me is that I'm in the right frame of mind to make essences. So if I've had a massive row with my husband, or I'm grumpy because I fell over the cat again, or I didn't have the best night's sleep and I feel, sort of fatigued and lacking, then I know that I've got to do some work on myself to clear that energy. And if I don't clear that energy, then today is not the day for me to make essences. Our energy is so powerful. And the last thing that I want is my grumpy energy going into an essence that is designed to calm your nerves. You'll be taking that and thinking, why does that feel so damn grumpy? And it's because I've infused it with my energy. So I have to be sure that my energy is as balanced and as positive as possible before I start making these essences. The other thing that's important to me is I have specific glassware that I only use for flower essences. I don't use plastic bowls, I don't use metal bowls, I use glass bowls, and I use glass jugs, and everything that I use is specifically for flower essences. It's all cleansed and blessed, and I won't use, something that somebody's cooked food in or somebody else in the house has used. It's all absolutely specifically used for my flowers. When I say nothing else, I mean nothing else. I don't scramble eggs in them or anything. It is purely for the essences. Before I start, these glass bowls are cleansed with salt water and selenite. I just feel like it removes any previous energy from the bowls. It means that they're absolutely clean before I start. I mean, obviously they get washed up as normal in between times. But yes, they're cleansed with salt water and selenite because I want everything to be as pure and clean as possible. I have water here that is mountain spring water from Spain. This water is pure, clear drinking water, and some of it's said to have magical properties of healing, which, let's face it, why not? If we can add a little bit of healing in any way, shape, or form to an essence, then, it's always good. So I charge the water before I use it to make the essences under the full moon. Sometimes I'm just happy for it to be energized by the Spanish sun, and I make that decision intuitively. Every flower essence is different. And I know this is going to sound crazy to anybody who's a cynic like I used to be, but the plants tell me what to do. I'm divinely guided as to whether or not the essence is to be made with moon charged water or sun charged water, and there is a huge difference between the two. And I don't know, I can't describe it. I just know intuitively which water is the right water. I visit plants every day. I talk to them. I'm one of those mad people that has a relationship with them. I encourage them to grow strong, and I just love them. Plants to me are just wonderful. I grew up with them. My grandfather grew them. He loved roses. He loved geraniums and begonias and all the big blousy, sort of bright flowers. And I've kept that love going, really. We have an amazing garden here growing fruit and veg. And for the first couple of years, that's all we grew. We just did fruit and vegetables. And then I just really felt this, I don't know, a hole somewhere where I knew I wanted to fill it with flowers and not just what we'd call productive plants. My husband's very practical and he just wanted to produce things that we could eat or would add flavour or whatever. And I just knew that it was time for me to put some flowers in my garden. I couldn't live without them. So I visit them, I know their names, I talk to them, and they tell me when it's the right time to make essences out of their blooms. So first of all, on the day that I'm going to make essences, I will sit by the plant that I'm going to make the essence from, and I will enter a meditative state. I use self-hypnosis to do this. And whilst I'm in that state, I can tap into the energy of the plant. Now, when you use flower essences, they work in different ways. They all have different energies. And so different plants are used for different things. So I wouldn't use the same plant for emotional trauma as I might use for trying to encourage fertility, for example. And sometimes it's really obvious with a plant what they stand for and what energy they have. I have about 6 different colours of bougainvillea here because it's just such a joyful plant. And I feel the energy of that plant every time I look at her, every time I walk past her, every time I water her, prune her. There's just something so uplifting about bougainvillea, and try it. I suggest, if you've got a nice garden and you've got flowers in your garden, that you go and you sit and you just focus on the plant and see how they make you feel, because that's how I discovered really that flower essences are so much more than I thought they were. I derive pure joy from being around bougainvillea. The hibiscus plant is another one that I'm absolutely drawn to, and I've got several varieties of that one. And I wondered why I was drawn to it. And hibiscus flowers, particularly the red ones, help us overcome trauma, particularly sexual trauma. And so with my past history, it makes sense to me that the hibiscus draws me in. It's almost like a weed in Spain. It's quite crazy. I mean, we don't really get them so much in the UK. It's a little bit cold. But in Spain, they're everywhere. The council plants them as, sort of big bushes for municipal places and stuff because they flower beautifully. They don't need an awful lot of care. So really, it was a bit strange that I was so drawn to this plant that is almost a weed, but, there's a reason for it. And those plants are quite obvious at times how they feel. Now, in the way that bougainvillea is really obvious, some plants are really more subtle. I grow Viper's bugloss, and this one has an energy of being true to ourselves, of being authentic. It can help us break patterns of manipulation. So if we're in a narcissistic relationship with another, that taking Viper's bugloss can help us break free of that mental trap that we're in. It helps us through turbulent times. But I wouldn't necessarily get that from walking past Viper's bugloss. It's such a subtle energy that comes from it, but it's nonetheless powerful when it's in a flower essence. So there I am in my trance-like state next to my plant, and I'm tapping into the energy of it and really just being with the plant. And my next step is that I ask the plant for permission to harvest its blooms. As I said before, everything has a soul. Would you like it if somebody just came and pulled your hair out without asking? Even if it was going to cure cancer or, heal the world, you'd still be a bit annoyed if somebody came along and just yanked your hair out, wouldn't you? And I feel like that's the same thing for the plant. The plant creates blooms for a purpose, and we are kind of taking that purpose away from it. So I think that it's respectful towards plants and nature to ask the plant for permission to harvest the blooms. A combination of intuition and the feeling from the plant will tell me whether it's the right time or not to harvest blooms. And to be honest, plants rarely say no. They're very generous because they know they have a purpose. They're aware of what their purpose is. And healing others is such a positive, wonderful purpose to have that they're not going to say no to that in general. At the same time, I'm very, very careful what I do. I would never strip a plant of every flower and leave it bare. I only take what I absolutely need. My bowls are relatively small, and so to cover the surface of the water, I don't always need many blooms. And I don't care how exotic the plant is. I don't care how powerful the plant is. If she's only put out one bloom, I will not take it. I will allow her to reproduce the way that she's meant to reproduce. Most plants don't have one single bloom. I don't really grow anything that has or is designed to have one single bloom. So therefore, I wouldn't take it. Now, things like, I don't know, daffodils or tulips or something like that, where they do really only have one bloom. If I have a whole swathe of them, that's different. But if I've got something that is just one plant and it only has that one bloom, then I won't take it. I will allow it to live through its cycle. When I harvest the blooms, I don't touch them with my bare hands. I tend to use tiny little scissors if I have to cut the bloom. Quite often I don't have to cut it, they just come away. But I handle them with tweezers. Again, all equipment cleansed and blessed before I use it. And again, this is to avoid my energy contaminating the flowers and any previous flowers' energy being attached to the tweezers or the scissors is removed before we go in to get more flowers. And then once I've taken the blooms, I thank the plant for her generosity and I express my gratitude for sharing her healing energy with us. And then the next step is to gently cover the surface of the water with the flower blooms and probably place the bowl in the sunshine. Or in the case of jasmine flower essence, I make that under the light of the full moon. As I said before, it's kind of intuitive which way it needs to go, but jasmine seems to prefer the energy of the moon to make it more potent. I'll sit by the bowls of flowers and I add my blessings and prayers to each bowl. If I'm making a personal essence for somebody, then obviously there'll be a meditation or a spell that I will say that is absolutely pertinent to them. So if somebody's wanting to heal something specific, then I will add the energy of that to the essence. Then after they've been left for a time, and it's time to actually bottle the essence, I remove the flower material with a strainer. Again, all this stuff is cleansed. It's all only ever used for flower essences. Everything is clean. I treat this as I would if I were making any kind of food product. Everything is absolutely clean. When I've strained the plant material back, It's a funny old thing because initially I would put the remnants of the blooms in the compost because, it goes back into the earth, it serves a purpose. But for some reason, intuitively, I was guided to lay the blooms at the feet of the plant that I had taken them from so that their own energy goes back to them. Again, don't really understand why. It was just what I was called to do, divinely guided to do, and that is now what I do. So I measure out the amount of essence water that I have, and then I measure out the corresponding amount of preservative. I only use organic vodka or organic apple cider vinegar as a preservative. These are the organics of it is so important to me, and I wanted to have an alcohol version, and although there are only tiny amounts of alcohol in it, I also wanted a non-alcoholic version using the organic apple cider vinegar so that anybody who has any issues of not being able to drink alcohol or allergies or anything like that, there is an alternative to the vodka for that. Some people use brandy. I just prefer the vodka. Both my preservatives are made in Spain. The organic vodka comes from the only place that makes organic vodka in Spain, and I buy that. So it's premium brand. And although I use Pipkin's organic apple cider vinegar, which I thought it was made in the UK from UK apples, actually isn't. It's actually made in Spain, which thrills me no end. The origin and the provenance of the preservative is important to me. I don't like the idea of growing my plants organically, doing everything I can to be ecological, and then adding a preservative that's full of crap to it. Pardon my French. But why would I use non-organic products and undo all the hard work that we've done growing our plants organically here? Again, I cleanse the energy around the bottles of preservative before I use the liquid, because I don't know who's handled it. I don't know whether the postman was grumpy, whether the person that was making the vodka was feeling grumpy that day. So again, I need to get rid of any negative energy before I add my preservatives. So it's all carefully mixed and measured, and the resulting liquid is known as the mother, and it will require further dilution before I send it out to you. I keep the mother in beautiful coloured glass bottles, which have, again, keep repeating myself, been cleansed with salt water and selenite before they were ever put in use. The vodka versions last a long time, forever. The apple cider vinegar has a slightly smaller shelf life, so I keep my eye on when they were created. Some of my essences are not just flower essences. I infuse them with crystal energy as well. And again, I'm divinely guided to charge these under the full moon rather than under the sunshine. I use things like amethyst, moonstones, but again, everything completely clean and clean of energy and dirt, because I want you to be completely confident about taking these essences. I can't emphasize enough about how I'm intuitively guided as to what flower and crystal combinations that I create. When I was making a jasmine flower essence one night, I was just overwhelmingly pushed to make a version that had crystals in it. I didn't consciously look up what I was making. I didn't do anything. I just made the thing and then looked it up afterwards. And I thought, oh, right, okay, that's what that's for. So yeah, it's a very, very intuitive process. And again, when you order a flower essence from me, I make that dilution especially for you. I'll blend various energies depending on what your issues are. I will add energy healing and blessings to you as I create the essence. I make every single one of my essences from start to finish with total love and healing. And I hope that maybe you'll have a look and give them a try. I hope you found this helpful. And with love and magic always, I'll see you next time. I'm Maria Gaian, and I'm the founder of Wild Fox Alchemy. Thanks for listening.